I'm Michael Connor, and I am concerned that the Houston Texans season cannot be.
Staying Norfleet here. Looking forward to another Locked On Texans squad show. Who put this bleep together? The question I have for the 2025 Texans.
I'm John Hickman, and as a Guard fan, man, I have no faith in this team right now.
Yeehaw! It's time for the Texans Squad. Everything Houston Texans, every week. Bringing you the big hits, game-changing plays, and all the action straight from the Lone Star State. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Saddle up and squad up. It's the Texans Squad Show, starting now.
And we don't even get to come in and talk about the fact they're okay. Well, we're still going to talk about the fact that they're 0-3, but we got a lot to get into tonight, guys, here on the Locked On Squad Show. As you heard, I'm Michael Connor. There's John Hickman and Sam Norfleet. We're getting with you tonight for an hour, talking all things Houston Texans. Of course, John hosts the daily Locked On Texans podcast. Make sure that you're subscribed to that. You watch it here on this YouTube page. Keep it coming. We appreciate you guys piling in huge numbers to watch and listen to these shows so far this season. Unfortunately, we don't have anything good to talk about with this football team, guys, because the biggest news of the day, one of the big additions for the football team in 2025, CJ Gardner-Johnson, last a whopping 3 games in a Texans uniform. He has been released today, and it sounds like it was a bad situation behind the closed doors there at NRG, where he was not getting along with people, not getting along with coaches, teammates, saying a lot of things. I actually watched Aaron Wilson's report on Channel 2 earlier tonight, and he flat out said it, that CJ Gardner-Johnson was making comments about other players' contracts. Obviously, if this kind of stuff is going on,
who y'all think he was?
Is it good riddance to CJ Gardner-Johnson?
Yeah. Who do y'all think he was talking about? Not Derek Singler. He's an all-pro.
I heard
the other guys back there are rookies.
Yeah, I heard it was the Petrie contract.
You never pocket watch another grown man. I thought that was kind of whack.
For a man who just got like $6 million of his contract in a signing bonus recently.
Yeah.
Well, so it depends on the context of the conversation. In an NFL locker room, your accolades and more so your money can dictate that. That's the power play. So if Petrie's in there popping off, or they on the team playing in the team hotel or whatever, if Petrie is popping off and GJ is like, dude, you know good and bleeping well you're not da-da-da-da-da. So then, maybe GJ is talking about his Super Bowl ring. Y'all should listen to me. And then Petrie's like, well, I make more than you. GJ, I don't give a... So those conversations happen.
So we look at the player being released. It probably was for the best for both sides, honestly. Well, DJ Benamy dropped a great article on ESPN, and the context of the article can kind of be summarized as, communication became so much of an issue that everything else that had nothing to do necessarily with football. And the reports are that he wanted to be utilized as a blitzer more, right? The communication on the back end, was he more so of a free roaming safety out there? I want to apologize to Kalen Bullock because I put the blame on that play that PFF accredited to Kamari Lassiter this Sunday on Kalen Bullock.
Brian Thomas Jr., 46-yarder.
Yes.
The deep over. Yeah, I get it.
So I want to apologize to the rookie, the sophomore there. But it felt like everything that may have been a huge issue really blew up when D'Amico Ryan sat back and said, hey, man, you're not even doing what I'm asking you to do. And so they moved on from him. And by the way, this isn't the first DB. Des McKean, Steven Nelson. This is DB
Steven
number
Nelson,
3.
That's who came to mind for me, yeah.
And Steven Nelson publicly had it out with D'Amico Ryan. So I think it's a DB thing. But I do think it's the right move. The problem is they made the right move without a right contingency plan in place. Jalen Reed, the rookies on the IR.
Real quick. I was going to say real quick before we get to the rest of that, you brought up the communication thing, and I did want to play the video that just yesterday DJ Benamy asked about communication in the secondary. Here's what he had to say.
To a bigger play in the secondary, how you just feel overall about the communication that's been going on in the secondary.
Yeah, when you see a big play that happens on our defense, somewhere along the lines, there's a bust in communication. It all starts with communication, and it hasn't been as crisp as it needs to be. So we have to play better on the defensive side. We got to communicate better, and we got to execute the defense better. And so, yep, it's not been great. We see that. We have to make some adjustments there to make sure we get it corrected.
That is it.
That feels like a defeated man with that answer, too.
And also to that point, I'm glad you played the audio MC through 3 weeks. We all question what Damian Pierce was doing out there. Week 2, what happened? He went out on the field. And then we see in week 2, we see Dare poor performance in pass blocking. Week 3 rolls around. Do we see Dare out there? One thing I have to give credit to D'Amico this year is if there's a problem that he can control and it ain't being – if the player isn't doing what's expected, he's cutting bait with some of these guys. I think C.J. Gardner just happened to be the extreme, but if he ain't liking it, it ain't getting out on the field.
So this thing is bizarre. I think that's the most appropriate word to describe this whole ordeal.
Yeah.
Because let me get this straight. Coach, you're 0-3. So the miscommunication just started happening in week 3. Why didn't you make this move and give somebody else? I think Eric Murray is the next, or MJ Stewart, I'm sorry. MJ Stewart is the next safety that's up that will fill in when CJ Gardner-Johnson is off the roster. By the way, the team has not yet made that official, which I find is interesting. It could be sometimes teams leak these rumors, what is likely, so they can try and get somebody to give them some trade capital. But CJ Gardner-Johnson played 65 of the 70 defensive snaps in Jacksonville on Sunday afternoon. Why on earth are you letting a man play 93% of your snaps if miscommunication is that much of an issue? Now, I watched that same footage, and I've been in contact with ESPN.com's DJ Bieniemy. He does a very good job over there, and he put a clip up, what you're talking about, John, that deep over route from left side of the formation coming across to the right. They were in a cover 0 man blitz.
Right.
Everybody goes. Now, I agree that Pro Football Focus and Next Gen Stats gave Kamari Lassiter the L on that. When you break down the tape, Lassiter is expecting to take whichever receiver, 2 receivers on that side. He's expecting to take whichever the traditional man principles. I'll take the guy that goes outside. GJ is supposed to take the man on the inside, which ended up being Brian Thomas Jr. So Lassiter sees GJ jump the out route, so then he tries to hightail it. Specific to that play, and there are a couple other plays that were highlighted, but specific to that play, I thought Kalen Bullock, who was locked in on the tight end on the right side of the formation, the tight end stayed in the block. Tremont Smith is in the game in place of Derek Stingley Jr. Tremont Smith could have guarded the only receiver that was over there. What I thought Kamari Lassiter, and let me be clear, GJ did play it poorly, but Bullock could have helped him by playing the route with depth. All he had to do was back up. If he backs up, he's literally in the throwing lane, and Trevor Lawrence can't complete that ball. I'm not placing the blame on Lassiter nor Bullock. What I am saying is this miscommunication thing, I don't think that's why this is happening. I think there are other things at play behind the scenes of a personal nature that are impacting this.
So can we add to that point that CJ Gardner-Johnson has never just been too comfortable in any locker room?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's been shuffled around. Without a doubt,
right? Now, there were a lot of issues last year. Philly traded him after winning a Super Bowl easily for Kenyon Green for a player who's not on the roster right now. So it kind of looks at – let's look at the history of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. What would have made this thing easier is everything is flipped. If they're 3-0 and not 0-3, maybe you can deal with some of this. But I think to C.J. Gardner-Johnson's point – I just got here to help y'all win, and we ain't winning.
If your locker room
trade per reports as well, so and that's in 3 weeks. When did that trade request come out? I'm sorry, Stan. Go ahead.
No, and I'm going essentially where you're going. Like Bill Parcells used to say, it's okay to have a few sharks in your locker room tank, and you just can't have a tank full.
Yeah.
If this locker room can't handle a guy that has been to the pinnacle of the profession and started in a Super Bowl and has played in other conference championship games going back to his days in New Orleans, played in Detroit, what he accomplished in Philly, you may not like the guy's attitude. He may be aloof and rub you the wrong way. But when you're 0-3 and your other option, and we'll see what happens with Jimmy Ward, maybe that impacted this, and MJ Stewart, like, what are you doing? And I'm going to get to something that I think is, and we got to bring in somebody into this equation. So let me get this straight. If indeed the Texans do release him, that means Nick Caserio, you wasted a first-round pick in Kenyon Green because you got nothing out of him and you got nothing in return for the CJ-GJ trade other than 3 games, which were 3 defeats. And lastly, let's look at this dead money, which Caserio, as a post-June 1st cut, Caserio can spread $9 million across the next 2 seasons, with the lion's share of that coming next season. I'm sorry, Caserio. What happens next season that's going to be pretty significant? You're going to have to sign a premier quarterback, a franchise quarterback, and a premier edge defender in C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr., respectively. $9 million dead on top of wasting a first-round pick on Kenyon Green. This is a fireable offense. Just that alone is a fireable offense.
Are we going to dive more into that conversation, MC? I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm down with getting further into the Nick Caserio part of it as well. I just wanted to ask you guys before we get to our first time out, though. I mean, did you see, with all this going on, the play being that poor? Like, was this not something that you could have just salvaged between the two of you? Sit down and maybe have a conversation between a couple of guys, whoever it is that needs to have clear the air and get this thing figured out. Was this between this
Nico and
whoever it needed to be? Whoever needed to be in that conversation? But like, did the play warrant this extreme reaction? This
not 3 games in. No,
not 3 games in. Bye week different. You know, for Houston, bye week, maybe the trade deadline. Maybe there's something to be had. So, Stan, you've been in locker rooms. Like, I wonder. We see the reports, we're reading the reports, but internally, just how bad the franchise is all around. For a player that's coming off winning to say in 3 weeks, I want to be traded. So, no, I don't think it's salvageable. I think it's the right move for Houston. They don't have the depth to back it up, so things could probably only get worse for them. We'll see what MJ Stewart does. But if neither side wants to be here, and if it feels like the season is already a loss, and for the type of player that CJ Gardner-Johnson is vocally, then maybe that headache just is nowhere near worth keeping around.
So let me get this straight. And this is not throwing stones from a glass house or anything like that. They stood by an aging and injured Jimmy Ward this entire time. Jimmy Ward recently moved. He was exonerated. He will not be indicted for the things that took place. You can go read up on that for those that don't know. But you stood by Jimmy Ward while injured and going through that. Steven Nelson told the general manager a couple seasons ago, you can't trust a bleep in a vest, a sweater vest. You can withstand all of that. Larry Tunsil told you he ain't practicing. He's a vet, and he'll pull up when it's time to cut the lights on and it's real. Other than that, practice and all that, leave me alone. You were willing to tolerate all of this, but in 3 games, you're ready to move on and eat $9 million in dead cap money from CJ Gardner-Johnson. Something happened personally behind the scenes, and D'Amico chose to side with one of his guys over CJ Gardner-Johnson. And I'm saying to D'Amico, whoa, you have to make that work. For $9 million in dead money and you're 0-3, you have to make that work.
Are we concerned with the leadership from D'Amico Ryans right now?
I'm concerned with the leadership on the whole organization.
Right, but I put it to D'Amico because you talk about D'Amico making it work, but is this a situation where everybody has to be likable and friends?
Well, I tell you what, let's dive into it deeper. That question and the Caserio question next here on the Locked On Texans Squad Show. Tell you what, we're bringing it with what we've got going on in terms of energy because the Texans are making that very easy. But caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love the most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost you need when you need it. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online, I should say, at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Squad Show Tuesday. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, John Hickman. We're with you as always. Of course, make sure you're checking out John as well with the Locked On Daily podcast, getting more Texans information and stuff out there to you. The CJ Gardner-Johnson news as we do this show on a Tuesday, dominating the day, and it dominates the question of, you can go both aspects of it because we want to get into the Caserio part of it and evaluating him. We talked about him a little bit on Sunday after they lost and fell to 0-3. But at the top, let's start with D'Amico. Because, guys, to me, I look at this situation. You're 3 games in, and you're releasing Stan, like you said, a player that you've got all this money invested into because you traded for him, and you had a decent contract. You pay it out in the signing bonus and all that. And this is one of the big moves of the offseason. And it doesn't work 3 games in. To me, this screams there is a major fracture inside of the football operation here. That they are in some sort of trouble here. And it always goes back to the man that's at the top. So do we think there is, like John mentioned a minute ago, any type of reason to worry about the leadership of D'Amico Ryans?
I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to say yeah, but it's not leadership in the traditional sense that the players are walking over him, right? It's not that. D'Amico, obviously lovable. He's got the smile, the charisma. He's earned the right to play some hardball, given what he accomplished as a player. And more importantly, his meteoric rise up the coaching ranks. He's a legitimate big boy. I mean, he's been assistant coach of the year before. You know, he was runner-up for coach of the year. And 2 years ago, that went to Kevin Stefanski, by just a few votes there, we all remember. So, D'Amico Ryans is an above-average coach. He's an excellent coordinator and an excellent leader. That is unparalleled, right? Here's the hard part. When you're the head man with the big headset responsible for a 53-man roster, you're responsible for all 3 phases and the coaching staff, and you have to work with the general manager. And at some point, see, some coaches get to say, well, I don't have my franchise guy yet. You got him, D'Amico, and you had him You had him year 1 right off the bat. Y'all are tied at the hip. So and you chose Bobby Slowick, D'Amico. Now, it is there are those in the building that believe that Nick Caley was not a D'Amico hire. You can understand the Patriots ties to Nick Caserio, Cole Popovich, and others in the room. But I'm going to add one other layer to that. Have y'all seen 2 other layers, actually? The quarterback sounds different this year, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yep.
The quarterback is sounding like he's uncomfortable. And he's starting to let it be known, I'm very uncomfortable. And there's only one person more important than D'Amico Ryans in that building, and it's the franchise quarterback. The second thing, and I know you want to speak, John, I'm coming to you now. When you are among the league leaders in penalties and you keep telling us penalties are an issue, and here you are, 31st in the league in penalties. I'm sorry, they were 22nd this year, 28th last year, 31st his first year. You are consistently in the bottom half of the league, or top half, depending on how you want to look at it, in terms of penalties. That's a direct reflection of your coaching / leadership.
Yeah. You mentioned the quarterback and CJ Stroud and where he is right now. At one point during the past week, during a press conference, CJ Stroud said something along the lines of, he mentioned that he's a pocket passer quarterback, but he said that I try to go out there and trust the guys in front of me.
Try.
That's what he said.
I try.
And there's been a lot. I talked about this on the show that I put out. There's been a lot of small, minor, very subtle jabs and stabs. If you listen to and break down what's being said, I mean, even from D'Amico Ryan's calling now, if you want to be a big time player in this league, you got to make big time plays. And also, he mentioned, hey, there are some decision making and throws that we know CJ Stroud needs to be better at. And then to hear CJ Stroud say, I try to go out there and trust my offensive line, and to see how these sacks are occurring. He's still so shell-shocked from 2024 that he doesn't realize teams are getting these sacks from the edge and he's not stepping up in the pocket a lot. So there is a huge disconnect between all three phases. Yes.
What did CJ say 2 games ago, when D'Amico came to the podium and D'Amico said, yeah, we're having some miscommunication from an offensive standpoint in terms of the play call coming in and the execution.
Mm-hmm.
CJ came minutes behind D'Amico. CJ said, I don't know what he's talking about. I didn't sense, or in the huddle, I didn't get the sense of any miscommunication. So the quarterback and the head coach are not on the same page
right now. And I think when we're in the quarterbacks league,
we know who's going to win out, right?
We know who's going to win out with that, right? So I'm glad we're having this conversation, and I think it's a tough and hard conversation to have, guys. And I think I'm having it with probably the best people to have it with, right? MC, you've seen a lot here in Houston covering this team. How long have you been covering the Houston Texans or been around?
Oh God, man! I think my first season I was around there was 2011 or 2010 or 2011.
I had just graduated high school. Stan, you've been around this game for a very long time. So y'all lens of what looks good internally and externally, and then understanding what makes it work. I think, we got great eyes to for people that have seen some good things. They are not on the same page. It's showing with how they've gone about this the entire offseason. We talk about CJ Stroud being away because he was getting himself together. What if he just was away because he didn't want to be around the eventual chaos that he saw coming?
Is
that a valid?
It could be.
Right?
Oh, for sure.
Then we look at Stan. One thing that you and I talked about: where is his not necessarily energy level, but where is his command level of this new offense? Remember, I said, "Hey man, I went out there. He was kind of underhand tossing the ball, like he outside with a 5-year-old playing catch in the backyard." Wasn't a lot of repeating reps and things like that. So it looks like he's kind of been fighting to not be checked out from being disappointed.
You bring up a good point.
How this team has handled this offseason.
I heard Andre Ware.
D'Amico, I'm sorry.
You're all right. I heard the great Andre Ware on the flagship for the Texans this morning. Actually, it was last night. I replayed it this morning. And the great Andre Ware, former quarterback in his own right, he says, man, CJ looks like he is so frustrated and he wants to let it out, and he knows he can't. He can't call people out. He can't demonstrate the in ways that he would.
But
and it's bothering him.
But he's doing it. Listen.
But yeah, he's doing it subtly. He's doing the passive aggressive thing.
Okay, and fair. But that's what he's doing. A lot of these quarterbacks, when they get to a place when they can freely call out a quarterback, what year are they in? They're in the 5th, 6th, 7th year.
Yeah.
Right. And so for CJ,
he's got to secure the bag before he can start doing it openly in public.
Right. That's number one. And I think that they need to figure that situation out before they get to that point. But for CJ, if you go and read or look at what's being said, because I started to put 2 and 2 together. I said, man, lollygagging kicked us off this season, guys.
First game.
First game.
That was the
first game.
And we looked at it like, now, why would he come out?
Who was that a shot at? When you say the team practice,
now that I know what, I still put that on the quarterback because the offense was the problem. But now that we look at what's been going on, yeah, that looks like it's for everybody. And for everybody who's in control of how things are supposed to be scripted and how practice is supposed to be run. Mm-hmm. This is an internal issue that I think could very well be a ticking time bomb, guys.
Well,
CJ Stroud, I think he's been letting us know how he feels in the media through what he's been saying. Lollygag kicked this off. I try to trust my offensive line was the number 2 red flag to make me go back and look at everything.
Lollygagging is aimed directly at the head coach for me.
I agree.
He's saying we were not prepared.
Let's put it on record right now on September 23rd. We can, check in on this for as long as it goes. Because I think that we'll probably they could beat Tennessee this weekend, right? They could. They're a better team, but they could still lose. But in all likelihood, they're staring at 1-4 in the face to start the season. They're going to lose by. I don't know about you guys. I watched Baltimore, Detroit last night. The Houston Texans aren't playing on the same field as either one of those teams. They're going to get their ass smeared against both of them.
Unless Derek Henry wants to really keeps fumbling that ball.
3 straight games.
All right. Is DeMeco Ryans the head coach of the Houston Texans next season?
Yes.
Next season?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say there will be a GM change. I'm going to say yes to DeMeco, but I wonder if DeMeco is operating a little bit outside of his element right now, going into year 3, being more so of an overseer instead of just worrying about the defense. I wonder if a new GM or whoever comes in, the direction is just kind of scale it back. But I think he's going to be the head coach. And let me say this: I still think DeMeco Ryans is a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking that away from him. And I still think C.J. Stroud is a good quarterback. That being said, they're not on the same page, and that needs to be fixed as soon as possible. But, yes, I think he's still here.
Stan, you agree?
I think DeMeco Ryans is still here. I think they got to have a real conversation going back to the C.J. Gardner-Johnson situation and that just being a derivative in a trade package for Kenyon Green. And it's not just Kenyon Green. It's not a rotating Juice Scruggs in at left guard. He's not a guard. Like, let's just call Juice what he is. You use a 2nd-round pick on a guy that's a backup. He's not a
Timmy Stan got sniped.
No, we've gone so long since this happened.
There we go.
Oh, there you are. We lost you for a second.
Right. My bad.
You're talking about Juice Scruggs. You're talking about Juice Scruggs.
Yeah, I'm just like, like Caserio, and I can go down a laundry list of things. Has he done some good?
Your boy Cam Robinson on the bench making the easiest $12 million he gonna ever make in his life.
Cam Robinson on the bench. Blake Fisher being a healthy scratch. Like you
Darrell
are
Taylor, healthy scratch.
Darrell Taylor, healthy scratch.
Not investing into the running back room. I'm sorry, but it's piling up.
Like you. If the McNair family wanted Caserio gone, they have more than enough ammunition. Now, here's the hard part. Caserio, who has done some good things just like DeMeco has, Caserio's going to say what? Bro, I found your franchise quarterback. You needed 2 pillars to build your franchise on. I found them for you. C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. Aziz, that's your guy. You know, Sheldon Rankins is back. That's the guy you want.
Well.
Going to get Daniil Hunter. Caserio's going to say, I helped that. I got that done. Right?
Did anybody have to help that one? It sounds like Daniil Hunter just wanted to come home.
Well, I think Daniil Hunter, he's getting paid top flight money. And I think that there are some folks that would not have given Daniil that, not because he's not worth it, but because they may feel like that money could be allocated elsewhere. So already having a premier pass rusher on the roster, they went and paid for another one. They drafted one and paid for one. So we could do this all day. The bottom line is the owners aren't going to fire themselves. The head coach has revitalized the entire branding of the organization. And the franchise quarterback, they're so difficult to find, he's not going anywhere. That only leaves one more chair, and that chair is occupied by Nick Caserio. He has not fixed this offensive line yet. And why is it that the Texans skill players, do you know the Texans haven't drafted a wide receiver in the 1st round since Will Fuller in 2016? Yeah. Where are your skill players, man?
And can I add to that point? You talk about where the skill players? This is what's been frustrating for me. And I'm going to take myself out of reporter mode, podcast mode, and put myself in fan mode just for 30 seconds. Josh McDaniels is back in New England, guys. I've been a New England fan for 20 years. Can you tell me a young receiver that has blossomed in New England in those 20 years?
Oh, N'Keal Henry was an awesome player. What are you talking about? He was the best.
I'm going to tell you how many nights I cried. Do you want to know the only young receiver that kind of worked out, but it took him 4 years? That's Julian.
You're talking about somebody with some draft equity behind them type of deal. You ain't talking about like Edelman and Amendola.
No, so
I'm
I'm pointing out it was only Jules, and it took Jules 4 or 5 years. There has not been a young receiver to work out in New England. And then you ask why. They're not getting on the field. Then you ask why. Well, what they ask of their receivers isn't necessarily the strengths of that player, even though those offenses may need that player. And so, boom, I'm saying all that to say to put back on my Texans hat. What was the draft thought process during that time? What was the thought process during the draft? Because if you knew all of this, wouldn't it would have made more sense to go get one receiver and spend that other capital on a guard? Or maybe you just look at upgrading your running back room and offensive line room altogether. They have, I don't want to say malpractice, but they've done so much questionable things to where if I'm CJ Stroud and my management team and my agent, what have you done for me lately? And the question is, CJ Stroud may have done more for the Texans lately than the Texans have done more for CJ Stroud. Now, he has his own faults in this, but y'all ain't going to use those guys when y'all know I need them. This is who y'all drafted. I don't have Tank Dell out there. I got a 4-3 guy, 4-3-40 guy that I can't even get the ball to because he's not on the field. 2 targets for Jalen Noel. What kind of crap is that?
So to me, that says one or two things. That means they misevaluated Noel and Higgins, or they got here and put them in an NFL situation, NFL environment, and they realized we were wrong. Now, I told you.
Can you make that assessment when one guy only has 2 catches?
So I
Can you make that assessment when the other guy who leads the team in yards per catch isn't getting the ball?
I'm gonna tell you why you can, and I understand your perspective, John. I do, but I'm gonna tell you why you can. Ask any former NFLer in this city. Hey, when could you tell if a dude could ball or not? First, sometimes you get the OTAs. Sometimes you can get the OTAs and you know, oh, that dude ain't real long.
Yeah, that's a good point. When I remember being out there when DeAndre Hopkins is a rookie at OTAs, and I knew it the first second I saw that guy. I was like, he has to be a monster. You're right.
When Derek Stingley Jr., when I came back to H-Town in 2023, I went over there to practice to start the 23 season. And I saw Derek Stingley Jr. in person, and he was just doing individuals. I turned to my former radio partner. I said, that's what it looks like. A premier corn in this league looks and moves like that. So you can tell. Do some guys develop? Yes. The only way to develop is to get opportunities. But when I'm watching, Jacksonville Jaguars had 6 drops. But when they got guys, some dude named Parker Washington is out there doing more work than Noel and Higgins combined. It either tells me the offense is too complex, therefore the team doesn't trust them, or they misevaluate it. Regardless, who pays the price for that? The general manager shot for those groceries. There were other players. They were sitting at 25. They could have gone from 25 to 18 and got Emeka Ibuka. They chose, even in the second round, they chose Higgins over Luther Burden III out of Missouri, who just had a hell of a game. He's got more yards than Higgins and Noel combined, I believe, does Luther Burden III. Okay, maybe, and we know it got expensive. They wanted to try and get up and get Tyler Booker out of Alabama at the guard spot. Okay, maybe that was too rich for your blood. Josh Simmons, that plays tackle. He's grading out higher now at Kansas City than Ariante Ursary is grading out for Houston. So you had multiple opportunities over the last 2 years. You've had multiple opportunities to fix this offensive line. You chose Nick Caserio. Y'all chose to move on from Laramie Tunsil. That's what you chose to do.
And
so
for
you
me,
have to be held accountable for that.
More so because I still think LT moving on from LT was a smart move. He was going to want another re-up on that contract soon. And
I'll deal with that. I'll kick that can down the road right now.
And you've said that. So I think it was more so for me a preparation thing. But when I look at the receivers and the lack of impact that they've had, because I've talked about that. that goes back to Nick Caserio knowing that deep down, my question is, what was the selling point for Nick Caley over guys like a Jeff Nixon, over guys like a Adam Stenavich? What was the selling point? And if the selling point was anything remotely close to the glory days of New England, days that I missed, then you made the wrong decision. And that decision hurts the Texans play caller. It hurts the drafted players. And ultimately, it hurts the quarterback.
It hurts everything.
It hurts
we got to grab real quick. We got to grab a quick timeout real quick. We can continue our discussion here in a brief moment because there's a lot of layers to this still to get to here on the Locked On Texans Squad show. Before we get to that, let's talk FanDuel. NFL season. Well, it's here. FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just, checking it out, keeping an eye on it for your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, we are all mad about the Texans, and we're going to tell you about it right here on the Texans Squad Show. I'm Michael Connor, John Hickman, and Stan Norfleet with you. Thank you for joining us if you're live with us here on this Tuesday. Of course, you can watch this show anytime on the Locked On Texans YouTube page. If you're listening to this, make sure you go subscribe to that. And if you're here for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well and check out John's daily work as well. We'll be back, of course, on Sunday after Texans and Titans. One team will get a win. Who will it be? We'll find out Sunday in the Battle of the AFC South cellar dwellers is the best way to put it right now. All right, so we're having all this discussion on what's been going on, and I guess we can kind of tie the end of Caserio and whatnot. Does all of this combine for you guys make you more mad about what's happening now? Because I think the further along we get with today's news and how it's going down and all the things we're hearing and all the questions that we now have of how things are running, and I personally am never going to be a lover of the McNair family. I think that they are a terrible ownership group. I will say it until the cows. I've always thought that. I've always thought that they needed to sell the team and get somebody in here who has a clue at what they're doing. I know it's not that easy. It's not that easy, but I have forever wanted new ownership. Does all this, though, make you more mad with looking back on the offseason and all that and where we're at now that, it feels like they shouldn't have ever been at this place?
You know what move we ain't brought up yet? You know they traded for Stephon, but then opted to void the last 3 years of his contract.
Why?
And so
that was about keeping Stephon. Like that was like same thing they did with Joe Mixon. Hey, if we trade for you, will you play for us? If we make the money work, give you an extension. Stephon, will you be a good soldier? Can we turn this into a 1-year prove-it deal? So I think that was worth the risk and contingent upon getting the player.
It's a friendly organization. I mean, but you look at some of the moves that at the time it happened, I was always confused about avoiding the last years of that contract because that gave you a player under 3 years of a contract that has helped young quarterbacks. Has helped quarterbacks in general kind of get over a hump, and you would have saw his impact he would have had with C.J. Stroud. So, but does it make me more madder? No, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I'm PO'd.
Papa's not mad. Papa's just disappointed, man.
That's the worst. That's the worst treatment.
Disappointed. We came into this season, and I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. I've had to hear this specific thing from Stan for how long now? For a while, for months.
Since the summer, for sure.
This is exactly, John. I'm telling you now. When this thing blows up, I'm gonna call it out. Stan, am I lying?
No, you on it, brother.
And so, like, anytime a move has been made for the Houston Texans, I give my thoughts on whether or not I think it's wrong or not. But after that, I go with what they're doing. But they sold me some Kool-Aid, man. And for a little minute, I was like, let me get another taste of that. Let me get another.
That Battle Red tasted good, didn't it?
Yeah, that Battle Red Kool-Aid. What's in the flavor? What's the secret ingredient? And now it's starting to taste a little tart. And now I want some water, man. And this is just bad. It's disappointing But what makes it so disappointing, guys, is this franchise for 20 years, have they ever gotten it right for an era of Texan football doing right by their quarterback? It feels like the only quarterback they got it right by was Matt Schaub.
I'm gonna say D. Watt had it. Them first fully healthy 2 seasons, it was all right. When they went to Kansas City and was up, it's 24-0.
It was right from the standpoint of maybe the players, but they had the wrong dictator running the ship.
Has it ever for 20 plus years has everything aligned perfectly?
The only time it did was 2011. Then Matt Schaub got his foot stepped on by fat Albert Haynesworth.
So that was one of those years. I think the Deshaun year, the up at Kansas City 24-0, and I think that first year of D'Amico, CJ, that 2023, I think they had lightning in the bottle that year right there. I think if
that's
they
not
play
an era though, that's a time, that's a moment.
Oh, really? You're saying the entire era? Then I understand what you're saying.
It feels like it's inevitable to happen again, to where they have the quarterback and something's going to go disarray. This feels like it could be the opening stages of a bad ending. Hopefully they catch it.
And this is where the leadership has to step up. And this is where, look, man, I'm going to tell you what's hurting them, and it's obvious. They missed on Kenyon Green for reasons, multiple reasons.
Oh, no.
Come on, no, man, we having too good of a time tonight.
That John Mechie the third, that's the second round. Scruggs, Drew Scruggs, Blake Fisher, John Mechie, Kenyon Green. Those are 3 2s and a 1 you traded up for.
Every time.
The Cam Robinson contract.
Also, you got to throw Christian Harris in that mix. He hadn't had a full season of football. And then last year, it was a ghost year. We don't know what was going on.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Excuse me, I'm having some technical challenges over here. Y'all give me just 1 second. I apologize.
Yeah.
MC, does it feel like the misses way more than the makes?
I think we're getting to that point, don't you? I mean, this is we've talked about this before. This is the one team for me that I always let my fandom come out more than probably any of the other ones that are left. And I try to also evaluate it for what it's worth when they're in that moment, and try to be level headed with it. But I feel like there's too many, and we talked about this Sunday when you brought it up earlier too. It feels like it's just rinse and repeat, trying to replicate, like we've been saying, the good old boy Patriots network. And I don't think it's going to get there. And personally, I asked the question earlier for both you guys, and you mentioned that you think D'Amico's going to be here, obviously, and Nick Caserio's out. I can see the scenario. Let's play that game. What if this season gets to what? 1-5, 1-6? How do you look at this and go, I can't, in the NFL, which is a not for long league, how do you not have some serious consequences for the entire staff at that point?
I mean,
what point do you get to where D'Amico is in danger?
That's when it becomes an all-out quarterback versus head coach.
Yeah.
And I think if we may need to do some digging, right? Maybe there's a whistleblower out there. But I think because when we look at the misses, okay, Kenyon Green was a terrible miss. God-awful miss. To this point, Christian, really everybody in that 22 class, not named Derek Stingley and Jalen Petrie. And then you also have Jalen Petrie who can be compromised on defense. That's full of misses. 23. Okay, you hit on 23, Tank, Will, and CJ. Okay, some of those other players ain't working out. But the players that have not worked out, they have such a big hand into why this team isn't operating and being as productive as they should, that makes the players that are working out seem a little worse. Like Kenyon Green, Juice, and Jared, and Blake, y'all being not being able to block out there for CJ Stroud led to 245 pressures, nearly 60 sacks in 2024. So how has that impacted him? I think those misses are piling up, but I don't think we get to a point where we see D'Amico, and this is just my opinion, where D'Amico is out of here until we get some insider trading information that CJ Stroud is like, hey, it's him or me.
Yeah.
And he has an agent that has made some things work out. And Houston knows this. And so does that play in the back of their mind, especially from ownership? The last time we lost a quarterback of this type of caliber,
they didn't like dealing with that guy the last time.
They like dealing with him, right? But also we lost money because nobody was coming to the games.
Yeah.
And fans still are not necessarily coming to the game, so they can't afford it again.
I think that's the most disappointing thing, too, is that, and you know this, people in this city want to believe. They want to get behind it. They want to go as crazy for it as they do when the Astros are great and then like when the Rockets have been great as well. We've never gotten that completely with the Texans. And I know that people want it still, and it's just they don't give it to you. They don't. And this is another example of that. This season is going to hurt trust. This season is going to hurt a lot of things once again if it keeps spiraling down the path that it's spiraling.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to this, because I'm glad you brought up the Astros. Does Houston has fair weather fans? Like, do you have to consistently win to be a fan of a team? Like, I'm one of the lone people that's been a Rockets fan my whole life. And I've experienced a lot of heartbreak. But I ain't going, I know I ain't going nowhere. With the Texans, it felt like those diehard fans that will come sell out their stadium regardless of what, it felt like the moment Deshaun left, requested a trade, and how things transpired after that, and the introduction of Cal McNair as with his more prominent role, it felt like everybody was scared away for years, and then maybe being outpriced. But then 23 rolls around. DeMeco Ryans is back as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Your quarterback is hot. Tank Dell is hot, who's, if you're a Cougs fan, you love him already. 24 rolls around. This feels like if they don't get it right, those diehard fans that it took them a while to even come back to support, they're going to be, I'm out. And because this is a fair weather city in terms of sports, who else is going to come in that stadium? Especially if you ain't winning.
Oh, I'm looking at the home schedule. I'm going to go ahead and guarantee you that they're going to have a lot of San Francisco 49ers fans in the stands when they come to town. You're going to see a lot of orange for the Broncos. You'll also see a lot of Buffalo fans making their way down here to get out of the snow.
Buffalo travels well.
They do travel well. You'll probably see a lot of Raiders fans towards the end of the season, too, on top of it.
Raiders travel well. I wouldn't be shocked. I'm going to the game Sunday. Are we going to see a lot of Tennessee fans? And, it's nothing for a lot of them old heads to pull out the Oilers jersey.
Yeah. Dude, I walked in a store the other day. They're selling Oilers stuff everywhere. Part of me is like, this is a Titans thing. What are we doing? I don't need this in my life. Get it out of here. Speaking of that, John, let's take a look at this weekend. Can they get off and get a win for the first time in 2025? We'll talk about it here in a brief moment on the Locked on Texans Squad Show. Oh, would you look at that? We're right back on the Locked on Texans Squad Show. I'm Michael Connor. That's John Hickman. Stan got sniped. We're hoping he can get back in here before we have to say goodbye here in a few minutes. But, John, this weekend, the Texans are going to play the Tennessee Titans. Just brought that up. And for all the things that we're mad about right now and don't feel good about, the biggest thing, we've done all this talk about CJ Gardner-Johnson and D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio and all those things. The facts are still the facts with this thing. This team has done absolutely nothing on the offensive side of the football this season, and the defense has actually left them in games. It's like until something changes on the offensive side of the football, nothing is going to change. But can they change this weekend against a Tennessee Titans team that, look, 0-3 so far? I don't think anybody expects them to be good this season. I would imagine that the Texans defense will do pretty well against the rookie Cam Ward in his first game against his hometown team. What do you think? Do you think that this is a weekend where the Texans actually can, for a moment, maybe get it right and maybe get some sort of positive vibe into a week and heading into a game that's going to be, well, difficult?
I hope so.
Is there anything that tells you it's possible?
So I think with how the current game plan has been unfolding for Houston, if there was ever a team to perfect it against and get confidence against, it is the currently beat up, and currently no direction. So directionless Tennessee Titans team.
Mm-hmm.
They've allowed 15 sacks through 3 games. So the D line
a lot of points.
And a lot of points. So the D line should be able to go out there and feast and make things difficult for Cam Ward. I also look at some numbers here. Through 3 games, teams have rushed for 437 yards on the ground, averaging 146 per game with 6 rushing TDs. This is the perfect game for Houston to take pressure off CJ Stroud by just turning around and letting him hand the ball off as much as possible. If there's anybody that needs a break from getting hit right now, it's CJ Stroud. And then hopefully what that'll do is lead to more realistic play action opportunities, which we know CJ wants those shots down the field. So I think that I'm not picking this team to win big. Like, I don't want to say 30 or whatever, but I think that this is a great game for the Texans offense to kind of get a feel of themselves and get confidence rolling.
Well, if we're going off trends real quick in terms of you don't want to give points like that. Week 1, the Titans gave up 20 to the Broncos, then 33 to the Rams, then 41 to the Colts. That just tells me the Texans are putting up a 50 burger. I'm just going off the trends.
That 50 burger is vegan.
Very vegan. So, was it like an Impossible Burger or something? That's what it is. Dude, like I hear what you're saying. Like, I think that you're right. You go out there, you want to run the football and all those things weekend. But like for me as a fan, you know what I want to see? I want to see them go out there and have CJ rip it. And
I would love to see that.
Get those young guys involved that we've been talking about, because that's the one thing. If they're going to turn this season around, right? They have to have those young receivers do something. They can't just be afterthoughts.
Does it feel like they've neglected the all hands on deck mentality, MC?
I think that's a fair statement to this point of the season.
But I point towards running the ball because I think the offense just needs a quick reset.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And because the Tennessee Titans have allowed teams to just run all over them, you got to really see what Nick Chubb can do for you, because there's no sign of Joe Mixon returning.
And
Nick
we don't have anything new on him, right?
We have no information on that. Woody Marks, he's gotten more opportunities each and every game since coming in since week 1. So getting him involved, I think that we kind of regulated him to this passing down back, but he can run in between the tackles very well, right? Don't be scared to run the ball in the second halves. Don't get away from that. But also, that will help, in my opinion, that will help fool defenses. Don't feel like the defense respects the play action right now. And yeah, I do want to see Noel and Higgins get it going. I mean, if there was a team to get it going against, it would be Tennessee. They just traded their starting cornerback and Brownlee to the Jets, and also Roger McCreary. He's allowing a lot of yak yards right now. So yeah, I would love to see them get it going. Find the matchup and exploit it, but I think it all starts with the run for Houston. No Trevontae Sweat against Texans Sunday. He's going to be out. He was on my
and I don't know if you mentioned it yet for the people that haven't heard it. The Titans have their own drama going on. They were already their head coach Brian Callahan relinquishing the play calling duties today to his quarterback coach. What's his name? Bo Hardigree. Apparently, though, it's going to be a collective effort. So,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Who would be the? Well, there's nobody on the Texans that. Yeah, I mean, I'd be.
Bill Lazor is an offensive assistant, senior offensive assistant. Jerry Slipinski, like these guys got to wrap their arms around Nick Cady. I know this ain't no Make-A-Wish Foundation, but this is who they roll with. MC, this is who they pick, man. They got to wrap their arms around him and get him to a place of just calming down, man. And I think it's in the booth. Get around.
You want him in the booth?
I want him in the booth.
Okay. He did it in preseason, right?
He did it in preseason against Minnesota.
Yeah, where they didn't play anybody. But then he was on the field against Carolina, right?
Right.
And then they actually, the 1 series or 2 series, they actually looked good on off. Remember when we had the 2 series in preseason and we duped ourselves into thinking they were going to have a good offense?
AFC Championship game.
Literally.
A long time ago.
We were predicting 12 win seasons here on this show. And now, no. I don't think I could predict any of it. I do think, like you were saying, though, I do think that they'll find a way to get a victory this weekend just because the Titans are so bad. But and that's, I think there's one thing that we do have to point out. For as awful as it has been so far, and it has been awful, right? The games have still all been close.
Very close.
It's not like they're getting blown out by anybody. The defense is going to, like you're saying, keep you in it. 14-9, 20-19, and 17-10. And you lose the last one on a game that you just literally let them run into the end zone because you want to give your team a chance to go back and score instead of letting them milk all that clock, which I still say it's the right decision, right? What did you think?
Letting them score?
Yeah.
That's kind of tough, man.
It's always tough.
Your offense is boo-boo right now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they felt like they had the guy at quarterback to do it. And, honestly, they did. You look at the deep shot to Christian Kirk at one point during that game. If he just continues to run out instead of running back into the safety, that's probably a touchdown.
Yeah.
You look at some of the things CJ did in that game, the Nico Collins fumble, that's why it's hard to kind of put a lot of this on CJ Stroud because he's making some of these throws and decisions, and it just feels like he's been failed. But that's just how they lost. They got to take it. Let me ask you a question. If you're a defensive player and you keep your team in the games, and I pointed out against the Bucs, man, 7 straight drives of either a punt, a forced punt, or a missed field goal. And to hear your coach go out there and say the defense, we got to be better.
I'd be pissed.
Was that the deciding factor for him and CJ Gardner-Johnson? Because what do you mean?
Because, you're right. I think you're right to bring up that question. This team has played good enough defense to be elite. Just with an average offense. Elite. They should be, with an average offense, they're at worst 2-1, right? At worst.
They beat Jacksonville.
They beat Tampa with an average offense.
They beat Tampa because they get down to the red zone and they score if they're just an average competent offense. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, hell, you probably even beat the Rams if you're average in that game. Because they were not even close to average in that game. They were they've been below average, really below average in 2 games. That one might be the worst of all of them. I'm just saying, if you could get some sort of average.
Can you save the season, MC? Realistically, bro.
All right, yeah.
Put something together.
That's our last question of the night. I think it's over.
You think it's over?
I had a discussion with somebody about this today, and I was like, I don't want to be this guy.
Be that guy. Be the guy.
But I think all the things we've talked about tonight cumulatively, I don't think they're in sync. And I'm concerned that there's going to be inner fighting and that they're not going to stay together. And it is going to be one of those years where it all crumbles. I've seen all the signs of it through 3 weeks. And it happens today when you release a player that was supposed to be important for your team. And like y'all mentioned, had played over 96% of the snaps or something this year so far on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah. And
you release him today after week 3. I just am terrified that they are not going to come together. Because we've seen the Texans, you mentioned all those teams in the past too. They had a year where Kubiak was here, where they had all the pieces and all these things, and they went out and went 6-10. Yeah. And they just weren't together and all those. So, yeah. I personally, it's not that it's not savable. There's enough time left in the calendar, and you're still in the AFC South to where who the heck knows what's going to happen. But I have a hard time believing it's going to be fixed. You?
Don't stop believing. Oh. No, I can't believe it, man. They can go out there and put up 30 against Tennessee, and I'm not going to believe it. There's one moment.
It's a fake hope is what it'll be.
It's a fake 30 ball. I'll tell you if I could believe it again.
Okay.
Let me get to the schedule really quick because I think the Texans are just who they are. They've shown us who they are, and this is who they're going to be. But Sunday they play Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Baltimore, albeit against good teams, they've dropped twice this year.
It's true. 1 and 2.
And they've dropped twice due to their own merit. When you get to October, Baltimore, Seattle, Broncos in the first weekend in November, you got the 49ers, and then in the first weekend in November, you got Denver, excuse me. If they could beat Tennessee and go 3-1 in that stretch, beating Seattle, beating San Fran, beating Denver, that's tough, then my thought process could change. But right now, I'm stuck on this season is a wash. And I'm also of the belief that, hey, this team should entertain moving off some of the assets.
I don't think there's anything wrong if you get to a trade deadline and you know you're out of it and you've got guys that aren't going to be around next year moving them. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Just get off of them, man, and make it easy on your next general manager.
Yeah, that's right. Your next GM. All right, you want to give our parting shots of the night and lead us off?
Man, I don't even want to take no shots, but I'm going to take a shot. This shot is for my Texan fans out there. Y'all deserve better. Plenty of blame can go around. I think I'm not going to say equally shared. A fraction of blame can be shared between everybody involved. 20% here, 40% here, however you want to look at it. But the fact is, this team has done a huge disservice to CJ Stroud. That's it for me.
I can feel you right there. I'm giving a giant, huge hug to all Houston sports fans right now. Texans, Rockets, and Astros. Because the Texans have bad stuff going on. The Rockets lost a key player before the season even started to an ACL injury today. And the Astros are trying their best to not make the playoffs for the first time since 2016. So I'm hugging all of you tonight. I feel all of your pain. I hate it. With the Texans specifically, maybe it's just one of those years you root for draft positioning. It is what it is. And we'll hope for better next season. We'll be back Sunday when the game wraps up against the Tennessee Titans. Myself, John Hickman, Stan Norfleet, and Wade Smith will be here to discuss all of what goes down between the Texans and the Titans. You guys have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday night. We'll talk again Sunday right here, Locked on Texans Squad Show.